my first webinar. So hopefully I'll do a good job for you. We're here to talk about winter maintenance and operation. Hopefully I'm helpful. I'd like to have just kind of that kind of conversation we'd have if we were together in a room. Please feel free to ask questions in the chat box or give me your input as you have it as we go through. I should introduce myself. I'm Tom Smith from Rihm Leasing. I'm the rental operations coordinator for the Twin Cities market. I've been with the company for 3 years, and I've been in the diesel industry since the mid 90s. So hopefully I will be knowledgeable. Our goal today is to share our opinions and perspectives about winter maintenance and preparation. If you have a program that is working, I'm not going to encourage you to change it, but if you think that changing your program would be helpful, or if you're having problems, maybe we can offer you solutions or suggestions for better operation. And if you have questions about what we offer or that I don't address, feel free to ask those. Kind of the order we're going to go through today is safety for your driver, parking needs for the winter, what we do for winterization service, and then a little bit of discussion about fuel. And feel free to ask questions at any point along the way. And I think my hope is that you go back from this, discuss with your drivers what they can do to make your operation more efficient and have you have less downtime, less service calls from us, and then when we do have a service call, a more productive service call, so that we keep your truck on the road as much as possible. Things that I would suggest you discuss with your drivers during your winter safety meeting. Slips, trips, and falls are our #1 cause of injury. And I know I've taken enough headers in the parking lot myself that I don't like doing it. And there are behaviors we all have that we should work on avoiding. Don't text and walk. That's one of my favorites. Or if you're working on your tablet or you've got some kind of device, you do your job in the winter when it's slippery, stop, do that, then walk. People fall, they get hurt, and then they're out of work for weeks. Nobody wants that. When we're entering and exiting the truck, always make sure you have 3 points of contact. So, 2 hands, 1 foot, or 2 feet, 1 hand, however it works, but crawl into that truck in a manner where if you lose your footing or something happens, that you don't crash to the ground unexpectedly. So that would be the first thing, because I think that's where we see the most damage. Drivers should prepare for the winter. Make sure they've got a coat, gloves, hats, boots. If you require ice cleats or something to enhance the driver's traction on this, what he might deal with when he gets to a stop, make sure they have that with them. Food, blanket, phone chargers, those kind of things. We often enough in my life, I have to ask those questions. Are you going to be comfortable while you wait for the tow truck to arrive? Or maybe you're in some place where there is no tow truck. Is that driver able to make it until we get somebody out there? Is he able to sit in that truck safely until we get somebody out there to take care of him when the engine doesn't run in the winter? That's kind of the perspective the driver should have. What's going to happen at 3 in the morning when my truck breaks down? And what did I do to prepare for that? Drivers should also, while they're going through the truck, making sure that they have those items, that they have a scraper to clear the windows with. Make sure that they look through the permit book and that all the information in the permit book is up to date. Make sure that the contact information in the permit book is the contact information you want the drivers to use. For most of our customers, it's going to be call FleetNet after hours, or maybe call me or call your dispatch first, but make sure you have the right set of information in that permit book to get your driver called. Calling the right person so that he has the minimum amount of time on the side of the road. Then probably next on my list is COVID. I have a hard time remembering to put my mask on before coming into the building, and I've found that I need to be disciplined when I get in and out of that in my car in the morning. Put the mask on, get out of the car. What I found is very important for me is that I always have extra masks in the car, because you take them off, you leave them somewhere. Same thing, make sure your driver's got extra masks. If they need sanitizer, keep the sanitizer in the truck. We want the drivers to be healthy wherever they go and not to expose themselves. But in addition to that, our technicians share that truck with your drivers when we're in for service. If we can make sure that we keep the cabs clean, clutter-free, so that the delivery driver, the mechanics, whoever we might put in that truck is safe as well. So we'd really like to see daily removal of food waste, trash, anything that they might leave in the truck that could carry germs, should come out of that truck daily. And then probably on that same note, as we go through the winter, it's kind of my expectation that we could have times where our staff is challenged. You know, if one of our drivers gets sick, we have to figure out how to cover that. Want to make sure that you realize we're doing everything at Rihm we can to control the virus. It's very active and daily discussion here, making sure that we follow our virus protocols to keep your employees safe and to keep our employees safe. From time to time, complying with those and our staffing may be affected by the pandemic as well. So if we maybe ask for a little help moving an equipment or have a little delay, I apologize for that in advance, but we're trying to keep everybody safe and keep the equipment moving, but dealing with the same challenges everybody else in the market deals with. No questions? No, okay. Before I move on to truck and parking, does anybody else have a question or anything that we should address? Okay, parking the truck. It seems like a easy thing, but I think it's more in the details than some of us realize. We've got customers that park the trucks at their houses. We have trucks parked at warehouses. Sometimes we have trucks parked on the side of the street. In the winter, the truck has, for dependable winter operation, the truck has needs from its parking place. Certainly it needs to be secure, but we really need electrical power. We want to keep those trucks plugged in. With the new emission systems, quick engine heat is really important to dependable operation. If we start in extreme cold, you know, the old trucks wouldn't start when they were cold. The new trucks are going to start to 20 below, but that doesn't mean they're going to run the way we want them to run. We really want that truck to be preheated. That heat from the block heater, or the heat from the engine block heater, accomplishes a lot of things. It allows the engine to start quickly. It allows for quicker oil pressure. Those are obvious. Not so obvious. The preheated engine puts heat more quickly to the fuel filters and the fuel tank to prevent cold filter plugging. So if we've got marginal fuel, which I think happens more often than we'd like, having that extra heat in the engine when we start it prevents us from plugging fuel filters. It helps the truck run better, quicker. Block heat is also supplied to the diesel exhaust fluid. That fluid will go slushy or frozen. And we have an allotted window of time. I think that's 30 minutes, but I did not have time to research that before we have to begin injecting DEF into the exhaust system. So same thing, if we're starting from a cold engine and it takes 15 minutes to get that engine up to 100 degrees, we really don't make significant thawing on our DEF system. We can end up logging a fault because the DEF is not sufficiently thawed in the time allowed. So same thing, preheating the engine gets our DEF thawed quicker, prevents fault codes. And then the exhaust system, there's a lot going on in there too. And if somebody wants to talk about it, that would be probably another discussion, but we have exhaust gas for circulation, and some other things, and the DPF and the rest of the parts of the exhaust system. Those items all need to be hot to function properly. When we start with a cold engine, it takes longer to get that system hot. The EGR systems tend to ice up with cold exhaust, and the DOC DPF can plug. When the engines run, the new engines still put all that black soot into the exhaust system, and then we incinerate it. When that exhaust system is cold, we don't incinerate that soot efficiently, and it can plug the system. Once again, we can get a fault code, we can get a derate, we can get all kinds of things that are going to cause you to call me or call your service representative. If we can get that system hotter, quicker, and have less cold weather idle time, you'll have less calls to us. It's not that we don't want to talk to you, but we'd really rather talk about football or baseball or winter skiing than we would about your check engine light being on. So encourage the drivers to plug in, minimize idle time whenever they can in the cold weather, so that we have that exhaust system running hot all the time. That system needs heat to run well. People that are running short, if you run, like an hour between stops, that exhaust system is going to get hot and regenerate easily. If you're running 15 minutes between stops, that exhaust system is really going to struggle to maintain heat and perform the way it is supposed to in the cold weather. Any more? Oh, and that didn't make it into my notes. So the electrical circuit for your engine block heater, it should be your block heater is going to draw between 600 and 1200 watts, which is going to be between 6 and 12 amps. You should have a 14 gauge cord. Make sure the driver is testing the GFI outlet or checking to make sure that there's actually power from the outlet to the truck. If the GFI gets snow or water, particularly salty water on our plugs, can trip that GFI a lot. So make sure that the GFI is not tripped or that you can hear the block heater cooking away. But don't, if the cord's got a light on it and the light's not on, the cord's not heating the truck. It's just something to pay attention to. So 14 gauge minimum cord size. If you're running big trucks, 1 truck per outlet. If you're running medium duty trucks, like the one in the picture behind me, you could probably do 2 trucks per outlet. I think that's enough on that. So then we're on to maintenance. Still no questions? Okay. So you should have noticed in the fall that your PMs, instead of taking 3 hours, maybe are taking 4 to 6 hours. Since September, we've been doing winterization on your trucks. That winterization includes checking the block heater, checking the charging system, checking the batteries and the battery connections, servicing the HVAC, changing your air filters for your heating and cooling system in the cab, draining the air tanks, and replacement of the purge valve and desiccant filter on the air dryer. If you're running your own fleet as well, desiccant filter on your air dryer has a variable service window. It depends on the size of the truck, the area you operate in. all kinds of things. The service interval on that filter can be as short as 6 months to as long as 24 months. We will change annually. But if you're in an operation where you're in high humidity, so that would be where I've seen it in the past is northern Iowa. Seems to be the weather's a little different than Minnesota. Or if you're in a river bottom, someplace where the humidity is naturally high, especially in the winter, that desiccant filter cartridge is going to work harder. It has more water to pull out every cycle. They tend not to maybe last as long. So if you notice that you're in a high humidity environment, you'll want to either service that dryer more often, or you may find you need to use airline antifreeze or something else like that to get to have dependable service. Same thing if you're running your own trucks. The newer trucks have a crankcase filter on them. That crankcase filter has a service interval, and it's not a standard interval. It depends on the brand of engine and the type of filter. And the types of filters on the engine can vary by engine. So you'll need to consult us, consult your service manual for your engine. For example, a Cummins 6.7 liter engine, the service interval on a CCV filter is 80,000 miles. We have some PACCAR engines that have a service interval of over 300,000 miles. So it depends on the engine, how often that filter needs to be changed. That filter is collecting your blow-by gases. It can be very high in, the blow-by gases can be high in moisture and freeze. So it is something that you do need to service once in a while, periodically. You can't just ignore it for the life of the truck. On that same note, tires lose a PSI of pressure per 10 degrees. So make sure your drivers are checking tires daily. Drain air tanks daily when the truck is warm. Drain fuel filters at the end of the shift when the truck is warm. If you drain the fuel filters in the morning, you're never going to get anything. It's ice. Drain that filter when the fuel is warm, it may come out. And same thing too, make sure you're more vigilant than usual on checking oil and coolant levels, as though those both can be affected by the cold weather as well. So we're kind of on, sorry, I skipped a spot. We're on to things your drivers should be aware of. So that's tires, drain the air tanks, drain your fuel filters. Another one that being a mechanic has kind of surprised me. I don't think our drivers all understand their truck air systems. So if you don't understand the air system and you don't understand it after this call me and I'll kind of try to give you a longer explanation of what goes on if we need to. But your air system, we compress the air. When we compress the air, it creates water in that airstream because the compressed air cannot carry the moisture that the uncompressed air can. That moisture is supposed to collect in the air dryer. The air dryer has a purge cycle. Every time the compressor cycles, the air dryer cycles, and it blows that water out of the air system through what we call a purge valve. Drivers need to be aware that that purge is supposed to take place and that it has a routine sound to it. If they hear, if they get out of the truck and they walk away from the truck and they hear the air dryer purging, they should stop and listen and decide if that's normal or abnormal. That purge valve can ice up, the purge valve can be damaged, and that will cause the air compressor to cycle more often. It'll cause that desiccant cartridge to last for less time. In a really bad situation, it might cause you to lose the ability to build air. So make sure that they pay attention to what that purge cycle sounds like, and that throughout the winter, it always sounds the same. If it doesn't, call us so we can fix it before you have to call us out and get towed in or have a roadside repair. Um, Same thing, and if the fan cycles all the time in the winter, that's another sign that we have a air system problem we need to address. So, you know, if you get in the truck and that fan cycles every 2 miles, something's not right. We need to look at that in the wintertime. Charging system, that's another one that kind of surprises me, but we've had a number of drivers get out of the cab and leave the heat on in the cab, but the key off, run the lift gate up and down, and then get back in the truck. You know, it's a long stop. Maybe they go up and down 6, 7 times on the lift gate, and they've been on site for an hour, hour and a half, and the truck doesn't have enough go to fire the engine up. If they're on a long stop, make sure that they're turning the cab accessories off to conserve that battery so they've got time to start. It's I think the drivers, their heart's in the right place. They want to get in a warm cab, but they've got to make sure that the truck starts when they get back in that cab. So if we turn the truck off, turn the accessories off, so that the truck will restart when we finally get back to getting in the cab. Another one that would seem obvious to me, but I think a lot of drivers miss, when we're walking up to the truck doing our pre-trip inspection, first part of that inspection should be to look for leaks under the truck. If you notice pink fluid under the truck, it's probably not transmission fluid, it's probably coolant, and it's something we need to address right away. Coolant leaks are more common in the winter, and we want to take care of them. So make sure they're checking for spots under the truck. If it's coolant, they should be adding coolant and then letting us know that they have a puddle under the truck. If you run a reefer unit, that coolant puddle might be on the roof, or you might notice red fluid running down the side of your cab. Same idea, that reefer system needs to be maintained. And I know nobody wants to get on the roof, so tell us there's a problem, bring it in and we'll take a look at it. Idle time, same thing. Make sure we hold that idle time. Drivers need to hold idle time to a minimum in the winter. The after treatment systems don't function with cold exhaust gas as well. So when we can, shut that truck off. I know they don't want to get in a cold cab, but they don't want to check engine light either. They've got to hit the right balance, and that balance is turning the truck off. Any questions, suggestions? Oh, yep, 6 minutes, we're right on time. We're on to fuel. And I wish I had a easy solution to offer everyone on fuel. Fuel is not I did a little bit of phone calling, and based on past experience, between this year's phone calls and past experience, I don't have any easy fuel answers for you. You need to stress to your drivers to purchase winterized fuel or to blend at the pump, depending on their area. Talk to your fuel supplier. You know, if you buy at Quick Trip, talk to Quick Trip. Find out what they are selling you. If you buy at Holiday, do the same thing. What we've found is fuel varies by station. So if you buy at one particular Quick Trip or Holiday, you may have a choice between winterized number 2 and straight number 2. If the driver puts straight number 2 in and it's below 20 degrees, your truck's not going to start, or it's not going to stay running. But you could go to the next Quick Trip or Holiday, and that store will only sell winterized 2. And you can't buy the wrong fuel. So it's really important to understand what your particular fuel location is selling, and it varies by location. I really wish I didn't have to tell you that, but it's going to vary by your store what you're going to get for fuel. Talk with that store manager or talk with your fleet fueling rep to find out what you're buying so that you know how to treat it, or they can, I don't know that they'll change, at least you know what you're getting. all the stores in the same offer the same fuel, so you've got to talk store by store basis. And then our fuel varies by state. If you buy fuel in Iowa in the winter, you don't get bio. If you buy fuel in Wisconsin, you might or might not get bio. And in Minnesota, you get 5% bio in the winter instead of the 20 that we get in the summer. So it's really, same thing. You go to another state, it's going to be a little bit different. Fuel vendors are blending the fuel based on weather predictions in some cases. So if you're not going through a tank of fuel in a day or two, it's more important to know what goes in your tank, because it might have been, if the 5-day forecast never goes below 20, you're going to maybe get a 90-10 or a straight winterized 2. Whereas if that temperature goes to -20, you're going to get a different fuel supplied from that vendor. So discuss with the vendor what they're supplying, and it changes daily. If you have a longer period of time between fuelings, then we need to understand what you're fueling with and whether you need to use treatment. Let's talk. I got 3 minutes. Treatment. Whatever brand you use, stay with the brand. Different brands work chemically differently. Add the additive when you're adding fuel at the end of your shift. You shouldn't fuel in the morning if possible, and you want to add your additives to warm fuel. Power service and house, if you use the white bottle or the regular house, needed to be added to fuel that's warm. Fuel coming out of the ground will be warm, and most of our trucks have fuel heaters, so at the end of the day, that fuel is warm. Adding the additive will help you be successful. If you pour your additive in the morning because it was cold that morning and you think you need it, unless you're using diesel 911, it's not going to do anything. And diesel 911 chemically creates a reaction that puts suspended water into your fuel. If you need to use 911, use 911, but if you cannot use 911, you will have longer fuel filter life. That suspended water turns to ice, ice collects in the filters, and eventually it'll plug that filter. So, you can, not having a good program can create you a problem. So I think my message here is know what you're putting in. If you can blend 50-50 treated number 2 and number 1 fuel will get you 20, dependably will operate for you, I think, to about 20 below. But do the best you can on monitoring that and adding your additives when the fuel is warm. Having a plan will make you better off. That's kind of all I have. Thank you for listening to me, and I really would love to hear your questions if you've got them. All right. Open this up. Do we have any questions? Tommy Rothmeyer sending me questions. Oh, Truck Tech Plus, if you're driving a T680, T880, a newer Class 8 tractor or Class 8 straight truck, your truck is equipped with Truck Tech Plus. If the light comes on, you can call your service person. We can punch that up on the internet and maybe help you understand what that fault code is. We should have that on medium duties, but it's going to be a while yet.
We can order them now.
We can, so
if older trucks.
Yeah. So according to Tommy, if you're ordering new medium duties, it's an option to add the Truck Tech Plus, but all of our Class 8 tractors currently have Truck Tech Plus. Same thing. It's a great thing if the light comes on, we have some idea what the light is. There's some brake faults and transmission faults that don't come through, but all of the engine faults come through to us. Yeah, if you have an issue in medium duties, let us know and we'll try to figure out how to help you out. You want to say anything? It's your turn. I'm going to turn you over to Tommy.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Tommy Ruckmar with Rihm Leasing Truck Sales, truck lease sales representative. Had to use or let Tom use my computer just because we had some technical difficulties. So this is our first webinar on the Rihm leasing side of things, and yeah, just we're trying to do this. I think every quarter now, different topics, of course, and try to make it, you know, up to date, kind of current with what's going on in the world. Tom threw in some COVID stuff, as you see, but yeah. So we just, if you have any questions, I'm not sure if Tom was able to scroll through here, but
What were the questions?
I don't think so. But yeah, just let us know. I think we got Tim Carroll's on. He's our rental manager. Should have Todd Taylor, who's our lease sales representative out of Mankato as well. And then Doug Muhe, who is out of Madison. If you don't have any questions right now, that's fine. But if you do, feel free to let your service or your lease sales representative know, or rental manager know. And yeah, we want to, like Tom said, you know, we don't want to be talking to you about service issues more than we have to. More about, you know, like to get to know you on a personal level, stuff like that. So we're just trying to make it as easy as possible and keep you guys on the road. So yeah, I'm not seeing any questions. So Tim said, do you recommend additive? I think you talked about that a little bit. Wade Bratner said he jumped on a little late. Will the presentation be sent out? I believe we are recording this, Wade, so we can definitely get that sent out to you. And I think Tim actually did that as well. And yeah, Troy, I know you're on as well. And I think Tom kind of mentioned the air issue as well, or the frozen airlines and brakes last winter that you experienced. But if you have any questions about that, feel free to let me know after. I think the point there is some locations, I think you might be by the river, you know, on Red Wing or La Crosse or anyone else out there. If you're kind of in a different location with humidity is high, or maybe you're way up north, gets colder, you know, just plan accordingly is the message to drive home there. And your issues will probably be different than something here in the city. So looks like Kevin has something. In our feed delivery operation, it would be best to shut the truck off during loading times in order to keep idle time down during the cold weather, correct? I'll give that back to Tom. I don't know if you have but it's down here.
Correct. It would be best if you can, you know, if your idle time is more than 5 minutes, I would say we need to shut that truck off. You know, you have, I'm sure you have, I think the devil is always in the details. You know, I would like always to see the trucks turned off if the idle time is, if you need to be out of that truck more than 5 minutes. But, you know, if there's a need to keep that truck running, then you know, that's something we've got to talk about. But once we go to idle in cold weather, our exhaust temps drop. Once our exhaust temps drop, we start plugging the exhaust system. And exhaust systems only can take so much material before they will throw a fault. And same thing too, we can only cycle so much material through that system over its life before we have to replace it. So anytime we can reduce material going into that system, we get more life out of that system. You know, if you have a really high idle time, total hours of the life of the system, the life of the system is determined by total hours operated. So, you know, the less hours we operate, the longer we're going to run without faults, the longer we're going to run without a air handling system maintenance. Depends on the engine, but you know, when we hit that air handling system maintenance interval, a lot of times that's a 3-day service event. 1 day to troubleshoot, 1 day to clean and treat the after treatment system, and then 1 day to put it all back together. So that air system, that after treatment cleaning service appointment. Nobody likes it. It's long and it's expensive. I'll give you back to Tommy.
So yeah, I don't know if anyone else has any questions. The last thing I, kind of piggyback off what Tom said about that Kenworth Truck Tech Plus. If you have a T270 or a T370 medium duty truck out right now with us, then there's a very, very good chance we don't have the Kenworth Truck Tech Plus software in there. So really, we will not know if you have an issue, you or your driver or the truck has an issue unless you tell us. So feel free to let us know. So we want to get that taken care of as soon as possible. And really, like we said, we're hoping to do this every quarter. And if you have any recommendations on what we could do for Q1 next year, that would be awesome. We'll definitely take that in consideration and probably run with it. And really, in general, if you think there's any way we could provide better service or anything like that, we want to hear it. We're, we've been, Rihm Leasing's been around for about 4 years, but Rihm or Lawrence National Lease has been around for since the 1950s. So we're newer to the metro. So if you're in the metro and it's a little different animal, but if there's anything that someone else is doing or you have recommendations, just let us know and we'll accommodate to the best of our abilities and make the changes necessary. So I don't know. I mean, if anyone has any questions or anything, I don't know if I can unmute anyone.
Say, Tommy,
Yep.
Rob's got a point there, and it's probably more a point for Tom. A question on antifreeze. He's asking, can any antifreeze be used? And I can let Tom weigh in on that. But
Here we go.
Yep. So on antifreeze, we're using Texaco. I want to say ELC, but that's not right. But it's a Texaco product, red in color, and it is nitrate free. Both the Kenworth product and the Detroit diesel product are requiring that nitrate free coolant now. Is that the antifreeze question? So it should be a nitrate free extended life organic acid kind of coolant. There you go.
I'm not seeing anything. So yeah, I'm not sure who's all on still. I mean, if you don't have any questions or anything, obviously feel free to head out whenever you would like. If you have more questions, feel free to put them in the chat there. Otherwise, not sure. We appreciate you guys joining us today. We really do. We're trying new things just to try to make our service as great as possible and keep your trucks and your drivers as happy, or keep your trucks on the road as much as possible and your drivers happy. So really, your feedback on this presentation, or like I said earlier, how we can be better in the future is truly greatly appreciated. Yeah, thanks for coming. And I think we're all done here unless anyone else has any questions.